blurted it out as soon as we started because
It is actually Wednesday. I think you're
really
correct
hard
about
about
that, but I don't know anymore.
Hi everybody. This is Kristen Shear.
Hello.
You don't know her.
This is Stacy Halal, if you don't know her.
You don't know me. And we are the co-artistic directors at Curious Comedy Theater. And we are starting to live stream. We're going to do it on a more and more regular basis. It's been about a week and a half since we last did it.
Yeah.
You can see on Artslandia's Facebook page, and I think we shared it on the Curious Comedy page as well. A lovely walk down memory lane of one of our shows.
Yeah.
And we drank a lot of wine, and that was lovely.
We did. We packed up the truck. We've moved everything online. So we've got this live stream happening here.
Yeah.
We've got classes happening online at Curious. So you can always check out our website for more information about that.
Yeah, and actually, starting tomorrow, we'll be unveiling officially our new classes online. We're going to have a sketch writing class, a writing for late night TV class, a character class, acting monologue class. So check those out, and that's a fun way to support us while we're in quarantine and shut down, and also pick up some fun skills.
Yeah, booyah. Curious Comedy online.
Booyah. It's the first time I've ever heard you say booyah.
No, I'm integrating it slowly.
You know, a lot of people are doing a lot of online improv shows. We're going to experiment with different formats and different things that we can do online and kind of explore how it works. For those of you wondering about Stanley, my puppy.
Always wondering. I need constant updates.
You may see him by the end, but right now he's quarantined himself because he's biting like a son of a bitch. So out. He had to go. He had to have a timeout and calm himself down.
He's doing great.
He is. He's really cute though. He's huge, so we'll get to compare sizes.
Yeah.
So today, we did clips last time. We played a lot of clips of previous shows, and today we wanted to play with having an interview format for our show. And
not only that, we also want to investigate what it's like to have people call into the show. So let's figure that out. Let's see how it works.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. I think we're going to need Heather to share that link. I was going to share it, but I think she's going to need to share it because my computer's busy. So we'll have her share a Zoom link shortly, but first we're going to talk to Tara Travis. Tara Travis is one of the most talented human beings you will ever meet in your entire life. She is an actor, a writer, a puppeteer, a singer. She can belly dance.
Ooh.
She can do just about anything, and she does it all super well.
So we're looking at some multi-hyphenated talent here. I'm really excited to talk with Tara.
From the day I met Tara, she told me this story that we're going to have her share with you about a psychic experience that involved several people in her family. And
these are surreal times, and it's about to get even more surreal. This is great.
I just wanted to talk about psychic experiences today, and so she's going to share her experiences, and then she went on to write a whole show where it's about her searching for a connection based on that first experience. She'll tell you all about it. But she went to a lot of different psychics. And so she has a lot to say. So I'm very excited to talk to her about that. And then afterwards, you can call into our Zoom that we'll supply to you, chat with Heather, who will be on the line, kind of fielding those calls, and then she'll put you through to us. And you can ask Tara questions, you can ask me and Kristen questions.
Yeah.
And you can also share your own psychic stories. If you personally have had an amazing psychic experience ever, we want to hear it. Or even a terribly disappointing psychic experience. I kind of want to hear that too.
So I forget which show it was, but there was a show way back in the day that I used to watch when I was younger, and they engaged a psychic on the show, and the psychic's name was Dale Shear. and that is the name of my dad. So I've always had an affinity for psychics ever since that moment, and I wish I could remember the show right now.
Have you ever been to a psychic, Kristen? Have you ever paid money for a psychic reading?
I have never paid money, but don't let that fool you. I've never really had money. But I have had a psychic reading and I've had a tarot card reading, and both were really cool. One was after, the parents set up an after prom party for us when we were in high school, and one of the things was having a psychic
Oh,
there.
that's cool. Like, it's a time of transition too.
Yeah, and then a friend of mine had a birthday party where she had a really amazing tarot card reader come in and read tarot cards. So
what did you learn?
what did I learn? That I was not pregnant, which was great.
You asked, so that was your question?
No, I was just told.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
That seems like a risky
Yeah,
thing to tell somebody.
Hey, they're doing it, and they were right. So
Phew.
yeah.
Shoo.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm just looking to do this. I went to an astrologer in Eugene. And there was a woman who worked at Saturday Market there and did tarot readings, astrology charts and stuff. And she has a condition where like the muscles in her face had what's the word? Sort of atrophy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
her skin sort of hung off, which gave her an extra air of magic.
Bell's palsy, or
No, more than that. Bell's palsy just freezes your face.
Yeah.
This was like just gonna talk about my lab had a muscle disappear and then had like a slope in her head, and this was kind of the same on her face. So her skin hung a little bit, like almost like candle wax.
Nice.
So it gave it a magical extra air of otherworldliness. And
Cool.
she was right on. Like, it was pretty wild because I don't think I thought it was going to be like when you read your astrology and it's just general and it could apply to anybody, but it wasn't. It was very detailed and very particular to who I am.
Ooh, yeah. I have a friend who's really into it, and she keeps telling me I should get my whole chart done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it sounds pretty cool.
What's your sign?
I'm a Leo.
Did you say it like apologetic? Like,
No, well, you know, Leos have a rap, but it is the best sign.
what are the...
That's part of the rap that Leos have.
I just wanted to ask you, is that the problem with Leos? It's
Yeah.
overly confident?
Yeah.
Is it the lioness of Leos?
Yeah, we're very, I think that's one of the things. And I think it's kind of true. Leos are pretty arrogant.
What is a sign that doesn't have a bad rap?
I don't know about the signs. I'm just gonna.
But psychics are different, so we're
Yeah.
going on a whole other topic that we'll have to do another
Yeah.
show about. But,
Yeah.
but back to psychics. I don't even want to get into my actual psychic story until everyone hears Tara's psychic story. So shall we?
We shall.
Okay, Tara, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, Tim, you want to bring on Tara Travis? Hey! Oh look, we're on there twice. Let me hide us. There we go. Hi.
Hi, Kristen. Hi, Stacy. Thanks
Hi.
Tara, yeah, coming us.
for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks
coming
for
to us.
being here. So nice to see you, Tara.
Good to see you.
So
That intro was nuts. That was insane.
you're Canadian, so you have to be humble about it. I forgot that part, which is probably your best trait, is that
You say
you're
too much.
No
You
doubt.
say too much.
No
Expectations
doubt.
are high now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No doubt you'll live up to the hype.
What is your sign, Tara?
Gemini.
Gemini. See, I've had a lot of Geminis in my life.
So this
Yeah.
is weird. When you asked me what sign didn't have a bad rap, the first sign that came to my head is Gemini. I think
Oh, Geminis have a bad rap.
we already have a psychic connection. It's so,
It wasn't correct in terms of not having a bad rap, but it was a psychic connection.
no, I
'cause we
just,
thought
I
of it.
feel like the fields of my mind were reaching out, and they already determined Tara was a Gemini.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, I've had so many Geminis in my life, but they do have... What would you say your double personality is, Tara? Do you know?
Golly. Well, I think it's kind of a classic bipolar kind of situation where I can either be really, really inward and really quiet, or I'm like all about everything and I know I'm it and I got this.
That makes
I'm either
sense.
the most insecure human who ever lived or the most confident person who ever lived.
Yeah.
Fair
But
enough.
I'm also Cancer rising, so sometimes I sort of find myself in a nice, sensitive, self-aware middle place,
Nice.
which I believe I'm in right now.
Good.
We'll find out.
Yeah, that's it. We've been talking a lot about how this situation is bringing a lot of us to the worst parts of ourselves because we're feeling scared and anxious and
Eating ice cream,
grieving,
just out of just
Yeah.
short-tempered, impatient,
I ate a whole cup of hummus with my finger.
which is vegan ice cream. Because Tara's also
basically.
vegan. So Tara, we're going to talk about your wonderful podcast soon, but first, let's talk about that specific psychic experience you had that we talked about that first night we met. We stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning telling stories that involved, your sister went to a psychic to get career advice.
Yes. So a tiny bit of backstory to get you on the right page. This is about 17 years ago. I was just freshly engaged to my now husband, Jim. And my younger sister, who was in her very early 20s at the time, went to see the psychic for some career advice. And so she's in this reading. And at one point the psychic says, all right, so I've got someone here. Who's Jim? Who's Jim? And she said, my stepdad. She said, no. She's saying young Jim. Anyway, long story short, Jim's mom, who had recently passed about a year ago, whom I had never met in life, she crashed my younger sister's reading and basically took over the entire reading to share many, many very detailed messages. She made my sister Shay take notes. Give my four my love. There were 4 of them. There was all this detail about how she was there with the other James, who is the one that Jim was named after. Just all kinds of detail. She went away and then came back again later in the reading to say, "Oh, I'm going to be at the wedding, by the way," and the psychic hadn't even put it together yet that this was the Jim that I was marrying. Anyway, it was nuts.
And didn't she describe something that Jim's mother was holding?
Yes, at the end of that reading, oh my gosh, there's so many details. Yeah, so many details. But at the end of the reading, she said, oh, she's waving a penguin. And Jim's mom had dementia at the end of her life. And she was nonverbal at the end, and she really bonded with this little penguin stuffy. And so much so, she clung to it. So much so that they actually buried her with it.
Oh, and the psychic, she said it was, this is how I remember you telling me, it's the black and white. She's holding something black and white, looks like a dog, but it's not a dog. Something like it's a stuffed animal.
Like a white,
she knew
white
it was,
tummy,
yeah,
black, yeah.
Which is crazy. And then all of this was taped so that you and Jim got to hear it later. Because your sister didn't know any of that stuff.
She didn't know anything. She was feeding wrong information. Like, she knew so little about it. She's going, I don't know. I think cancer. I don't know. She was leading her down all these wrong paths.
And a lot of
people coming back with all these details.
Which is so wild, because a lot of people with dementia will hold a doll, especially women will like hold a doll or a stuffed animal a lot. And so she called that precisely, which I think when I went, and I ended up going to 2 psychics because of Tara, and she recommended them, and they were 2 incredible but very different experiences. But I thought, maybe this is just some kind of incredible intuition, and I'm communicating these things somehow unconsciously, and she's very intuitive and can pick it up. But the wild thing about this story is that Tara's sister wouldn't have even had that information in her unconscious.
Oh, wow. So like the psychic was able to pick up information through somebody who didn't even really have it, and they were like a conduit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tara's sister never met Jim's mom and didn't know any of that information.
Wow.
You never met
Neither
Jim's
had
mom.
I. No.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. and she was, it was mediumship. Like she was very much, Louisa was in her ear. You listen to the recording and she's going, all right. So she's saying, no, hang on, love, hang on. Like she couldn't quite keep up because Louisa was talking so fast in her ear. Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And that sent me on my own journey because
Right. So
your next question.
Yes, exactly. So you never met your mother-in-law nor your father-in-law.
No, he had predeceased her. Yeah.
And so she kept showing up. And you started to get a sense like you knew her. There was the thing about brownies. There was something about brownies. There was a family brownie contest.
Yes, she baked legendary brownies. Louisa's brownies were it. Auntie Lou's brownies. Every camping trip, every major gathering, they went so quickly. She always had to make an extra sneaky pan for the family and hide it somewhere. So this is one of those things where after she passed, I was like, okay, any birthday or any Mother's Day that came by, I was trying to make Jim happy and make the brownies, and I got the recipe from one of his sisters, but I could never get it right. And as I was going to all these different psychics to try to meet my in-laws for myself, she kept appearing, and she would often show, a pan of something brown and gooey, or however the medium saw it, right? And that's how I would know it was her. And then in one of the readings, she finally clarified it. That psychic was like, say you're trying to make the recipe, but you get it wrong. You get it really wrong. I'm like, I know, they're always too dry. Yes, they're always too dry. And she gave me the rest of the recipe. She said, yeah, add an extra egg. And so I did that, and then Jim tried them and was like, these are the brownies. So that's why in that play I actually baked the brownies for the audience.
So she has a whole show of going to all these psychics, and then she bakes the brownies.
Oh wow, yeah.
So then you didn't really get to experience his dad, and you said in life, really, his dad was the more gregarious one, and his mom was the quieter one. But in the afterlife, she just kept crashing everybody's psychic readings.
Nice, yeah.
And you didn't get to have a connection, so you created the show, which his name was Dick. Is Richard, and he went by Dick, and so you made a show called Searching for Dick. And this
get them in the door. You know what I mean,
right? Yeah. And it took a while to find him, right? But he did eventually come to you. Oh.
Yeah, I did something really cheeky, and I entered all these festivals with this name, with this premise, and said, and I had to meet him before the deadline. Like I had to. So I was writing this play and going to all of these, I was basically like binge visiting psychics trying to meet my father-in-law, because I had to go deliver this play and I couldn't let it have this unsatisfying ending, I was like, oh no, how am I going to end the play if I don't actually get him to come through? So I went to, I think 11 psychics over the course of 6 months. And he was ever the elusive one. Aside from the few that were very bunk and super, super vague with their messaging, Louisa always appeared and always had something to say, along with a whole other host of members of my family, by the way. But I finally saw one where Dick came through.
And did you think she was kind of bunk at the beginning? Like she had a lot of misses before she hit it?
Oh, totally. She was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, no, it's your father-in-law. Oh, no, he says he really misses you, and he misses all the great times he used to share together. It's really... She was really going for this emotional connection, and I'm like, no, I never met him. And then as she got more clarity, suddenly he really, in my estimation, he really was there, because he exactly described the show that I was creating.
Wow. And he disapproved of your name, of your show, right?
Yeah. And he said he never liked his name. He was known as Dick forever, and apparently he never liked that. And and I was trying to get his blessing, really. And he was like, I don't know. But I'm not there, so what are you going to do? but but then ultimately he said he saw me up against a curtain with with lights, and I was on a stage, and he was there like in the wings watching me, saying, yeah, go for it. That was kind of like the last message he left with me. So,
And these psychics aren't like phone call psychics or storefront psychics, right? This is a network of psychics that you kind of have to be in the know to find, right?
yeah, and I think that's what I would recommend to anyone who's looking for a genuine psychic or mediumship experience is go with word of mouth. Talk to the people that you know who have had authentic experiences or exchanges. That's generally where the success is. They don't need to advertise because they've got the gift, right? I think find your local spiritualist church if you don't know where to start. You can even go to a service, and sometimes they'll get up on stage, or psychics in training as well, mediums in training will get up on stage and kind of read the crowd and sometimes say, oh, I think I've got a message for you. And so that's sort of a good gateway to finding one that.
And people should really be careful though too, because
you're looking for.
I remember when I got back to Portland, I looked up a psychic here, and I wanted to try, because the two I went to were in Vancouver, where Tara lives, and I found one, and I had some weird intuition to look up the psychic more in detail, and she had been charged with fraud, and she was. Because when people go to a psychic, they generally are in a vulnerable place.
Oh, yeah.
And she had taken advantage of a person who was going through a huge transition and was like really struggling with their self-esteem. So she kept saying, oh, you need to buy this crystal to cleanse yourself, and you need to buy this, and you need to buy that. So beware of anybody who's trying to sell you anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Tara, one of the people, the first person you sent me to, when I had this experience with my grandparents. So that summer that I met Tara, I had toured, or I'd done my first Fringe Festival, and I had been thinking about my grandfather a lot. He was the creative force in that grandparent generation. And one of the best shows I saw that summer, and the one that like made me weep, was about a girl and her grandfather who had a very similar relationship. So I really wanted to talk to my grandfather. And when I went in, the medium said, don't tell me anything. Don't feed the medium, was how she put it. And then she just turned on the tape and she just started going. And then she would just say, does this make sense? And I could say yes or no. And not once did I say no. Like, she just went, and it was just all very specifically sounded like it was my grandfather. It was very much his personality. He was very quiet. He read a lot of books. Like, it's not stuff that would have necessarily applied to your grandfather.
Yeah.
He's like, take things slow, really consider them. There is no rush. And then my grandmother crashed the reading, and she was like, you're more like me than you want to admit, and you have the knowing and I have the knowing, and you don't need to think about anything. And then the medium was like, oh, she has some homework. Oh, she's funny. She's a firecracker. She said she was going to tell you to get some plants, but you'll just kill them, which is totally what my grandmother was.
Yeah.
It seems very specific to like my grandmother. But then when I went and saw the other one, she said, you can come in here with a wall up, or you can be open, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and you can help, because I'm just seeing these images and they don't make as much sense to me as they do. So how many of the psychics that you saw, Tara, wanted you to give information, and how many just kind of took it and ran?
For the most part, it was more like the experiences that you described, which is really cool, and anyone that genuinely has the gift is like, I don't need to prove anything to you, but just let me run with it, and you let me know. Sometimes it'll be wrong, or sometimes it won't make sense right away. And then, I had a few, where they would ask a lot of questions. They'd say, oh, just tell me their name, or who is it you're trying to get in touch with? Okay. And that was that one where Dick finally came through. She was like that. And so I remember going back and sort of racking my brain and thinking, okay, what had I given her? But yeah, for the most part, if they're legit, They don't need much from you at all.
It's not like the John Edward, like, I need a big group of people and cast a wide net. Like, there's a J, you know,
Right,
it could be
right.
John or Jim or Jack or Jill or Jamie, you know, when somebody actually does it.
Yeah.
So my sister had a work event with a psychic who came recently who was doing that kind of room.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was telling you, I wish she would call in. And my sister was being a shit through the whole thing, just like making jokes and like snide comments and like,
Oh, I gotta be like that.
you know, East Coast. And it was like work people, so it's a little, I think it's a very intimate thing to do with coworkers.
Yeah.
So I think she was probably just dealing with some discomfort by being a little snarky, and then she started describing my dad, who passed away 5 years ago, and my sister was trying not to say anything, and she kept getting more specific until my sister was like, yeah, I've had that. So it's pretty wild. So let's see if anybody has any questions for Tara. We've posted the Zoom on the Zoom link on my Facebook page and on the Curious Comedy Facebook page. Heather will let me know if she's got anybody. I don't think she's got anybody yet, but we're open for questions or for psychic stories if anybody has any.
Yeah, call on in and ask Tara your questions or share a story. Yeah, that's pretty cool. When Stacy first asked me to do this, she's like, you'll be a fresh pair of ears for this story, because you guys go way back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated listening to it, especially when, you know, not really giving up anything or not even having direct access to the information yourself, that they're able to pull out all these specifics about the person that you're connecting with. And have you gone back to any mediums since then to try to reconnect with your mother-in-law?
I have had one reading since with the woman that my younger sister had originally seen, because while I was creating that show, I couldn't get in to see her. So that was a bow that was kind of haunting me, that I didn't get to tie that up.
Okay.
And I met her, but by then it was kind of hilarious because Louisa was just kind of like old news. Like, she just came through like, oh yeah, your mother-in-law's here. I'm like, oh yeah, hey Louisa.
Yeah.
So okay, great, good. And it was so casual. It was really funny. And then a whole host of other folks came through, and it was just kind of almost normalized by then, you know, just kind of an expensive conduit to check in with some folks.
Yeah. And
who are on the other side.
at some point you came across your grandmother, who is very religious in this world, and she had some interesting things to say.
Yes,
You wanna
one
tell-
of my many adventures was my Mennonite grandmother, my maternal grandmother. Like, bless her heart, she was very, very dear woman. She was very loving, but she grew up with the fear of God. Like, she grew up in sort of like the fire and brimstone kind of thing. She was always praying for us. We always just felt guilty and afraid anytime we were at her house. And I was so surprised to find out that she had come through, but she identified herself because the psychic was saying, I've got this woman here. She's really reluctant. She's almost embarrassed. She feels like she's doing something wrong coming through. She's saying she was very, very religious in this life. And she was making this sound. I didn't actually put this part in the play, but she used to do this little thing with her lips. It's going to sound kind of gross to you probably. But she used to do this like thing with her lips all the time. I'm sorry.
No, it's
I apologize. But she was like, I'm hearing this sound. I'm like, and she identified herself. She used to sing and play the guitar with us. And one of the, like, I think like the one sort of non-religious song that she ever played was called 20 Froggies. And we would sing it every single time, this little froggy song, and it was totally cute. Anyway, so she said, you know, so she breaks through, and she's talking about how she feels really bad because she was so religious, and in life, but and she feels really odd to be coming through this way. It still feels very weird. And this is like almost 20 years after her death.
Oh wow, yeah.
And she said, yeah, but she's singing and she's happy now. She wants you to know she's happy now and she's free. And she's playing the guitar and she's singing, and she's singing about frogs. I was like, okay. Yeah,
Whoa.
there it is.
Yeah.
And then she said, okay, she's got some advice for you. And this is a bit of a tender one for a lot of folks. It's purely just an experience that I had, but via this medium, my grandmother said, follow your faith, whatever that means to you. I know now that religion is man-made, and I spend a lot of my time dedicated to it, and I wish I had just followed my own faith and lived my life more freely. She said, so that's some advice to you. And I went, okay. And that kind of broke my heart. But, but I also knew it was her.
Yeah, I can get on board with that advice. And I was going to ask how it shaped your perspective of, the afterlife and what kind of new information you took in from that to change your point of view about all that stuff.
Well, I definitely don't fear death anymore at all after having connected with all of these people. My maternal grandfather is one where it really locked in, because he had been so afraid to die that my mom, who's also sort of into the woo-woo kind of business, she read him this book called Life in the World Unseen while he was dying. And it's this book that was it was dictated to the author by a spirit who, the author was a medium and describing in great detail the afterlife. And it's this really beautiful book, and it can really bring peace, and it really did bring peace to him. So when he appeared to me in this reading, he identified himself very clearly. I totally knew it was him. He was like, yeah, he smokes cigars, he's in plaid, he has quite a relationship with alcohol, which was true. He always plays solitaire, and then he talks about his garden and this and that. Anyway, long story short, he said, I was so afraid to die. Don't be afraid. I'd like to recommend a book to you. It's called Life in the World Unseen. And it was the book that my mother had read to him while he was dying.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Like by title.
Wow. And the medium just knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's, in the spiritual realm, she was like, oh, he's recommending a book to you. Oh, I know this book. I know that. Oh yeah, it's a great book. I think.
Yeah, it's so wild. And then and I don't know what I believe, but I do believe that there's more than we know. I think that's I'm open to that there are these experiences that we can't explain, and those types of specifics are the things that give me the chills. Is that these aren't things they can find on your Facebook page. They come up with things that they couldn't search, and it's not like she named 8 books and it was one of them, right, Tara? Like was the only book she named.
So I think really sort of stern, strict skeptics out there, what would you say to them about the mediums to maybe push them to investigate more?
Well, I mean, I don't want to push anyone if it's outside of their comfort zone. But if people are curious or really want proof or something like that, I say ask around, ask friends, ask people that what their experiences are and have been. It's very likely that someone in your friend circle has had some kind of life-changing experience or some kind of sign, and if that doesn't open you to the possibility, then that's totally okay. If it opens you a little bit more and you want to investigate, no harm in going. If you can get a good recommendation for someone who's truly gifted, just go with an open mind and bring a tape recorder. A tape recorder.
Yeah.
Bring a mimeograph machine.
Bring a tape recorder.
I think that's really cool. Yeah, bring
Bring
something.
a recording device.
Yeah.
So that you can
sometimes
like
it
go
goes
back.
by.
Yeah.
It goes by so quickly. And in the moment you're going, I don't know.
It is. There's so much
messages.
information. Yeah, they go fast.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You think it's gonna be slow and like you've seen John Edwards. It's not. It's like. And they're like slow down. Like they're getting so overwhelmed.
Stream of consciousness.
Yeah, it's wild.
So like, just to push this, so you would say like get some recommendations, and that there are really low grade kind of storefront, like you said, or call-ins.
It's more like there's, I think, novelty.
Yeah.
I don't want to say low grade. I think they're just more of a novelty. It's like a voodoo donut versus a Blue Star donut.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. And
there are different ways to tap in too, right? There are some people who have visions, who can sort of see ripples of time and see things that are coming or are happening around you or about to happen, and that's one kind of vision. And then there are other folks who are genuinely mediums who can channel the voices of your spirit friends.
I think it would be fun, Tara, for us to do a follow-up and see if we can get one of those psychics, if they'd be willing to come talk about what that's like to live in that frame of mind. I would love to have that, it's hard when I'm there because I just want to do the thing, but to actually hear about I talked a little bit to that one person about it. And
so
my mom is in mediumship training right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome. And, I think we do have a question.
Oh, great.
So I'm going to experiment with this, so bear with me as we go to the waiting room here. I don't know if they left. They may have left.
Technology. So one more thing, and we can, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought while we get to this question, but so there's just this maxim that I've heard before in like skeptical circles, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but they're saying like, they say extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, right? So for yourself, do you feel like, even though this is an extraordinary claim to have sort of communicated with someone on the other side, do you feel like you have like this extraordinary evidence, like this experience of this first person, account, to be like, this may be an extraordinary claim, but you know what, I have all the proof that I need, for it.
I've got all the recordings and the verbatim accounts. I've transcribed them myself, but of course people would rather listen to the recordings. But there's something, and then this is my personal belief around it. I feel like there is a great responsibility in sharing these stories, because I think a lot of folks are really sensitive to these big ideas, and it can really, freak people out. So I do try to frame things like, this is my experience, and the way that I've come away with it. These are the recordings that I heard. This is what I heard in them. I think, are pretty...
And skeptics are often a very staunch believers, and I think you also have to be a believer to believe there's nothing. That's also a leap of faith that you're making. And skeptics, the Bullshit TV show, if you've ever seen Penn and Teller's Bullshit, and they feel the same way about magic, that you have to be very responsible about, this isn't magic, this is an illusion, and they get very upset. But he's been wrong, he's been wrong before. He thought climate change wasn't real. Because he was being skeptical, and he's had to reverse that. There's a lot of things that we have come to prove after we knew they existed, like a helicopter, like how that can fly. If a helicopter could fly before people understood how it could fly. So that's where I kind of put this realm of like, there's something there, we don't get it yet. But okay, Heather is on here. Let's see. Heather has a question. Woo. Where'd she go? Sorry, everybody.
I see Heather.
There she is.
Hi.
Get that out of her face.
Hey, thanks for having me. Actually, I had a little story about my first experience going to a psychic, if you don't mind me sharing.
No, that'd be great.
Great. So when I was 18 years old, I was living with my best friend, and I was having my old best friend from 6th grade come and visit, and she was very much into psychic and witchy things, and me not knowing much about it. I was like, okay, well, I bought a Ouija board, and we'll go see a psychic. And so I just kind of Googled looking for a psychic. So we went over to the psychic, my best friend, my old buddy from 6th grade, and myself. And the first thing, and we didn't notice this until we were leaving, but the neon sign said "plam reading" instead of palm reading. That could have been the dead giveaway, but we totally skipped it. We were just super excited. And so we went in individually. She wanted to do all of our readings individually. And for me, she was like, you know, I see you are in love with a man with red hair. And I'm like, a man with red hair? And she was like, and his name starts with a D. And I was like, I was racking my brain. And then I was like, oh, she saw my best friend Darren right before me, and he has red hair. And I was like, oh, no, honey, he's gay. And so then she like backtracked a little bit. She's like, maybe it starts with an F. And so, and then after that, she had said that my aura needed to be cleansed. And in order to do so, she needed to purchase a candle to go to a Catholic church and pray for it to be cleansed. And I was like, oh, cool. What's the ticket price on that? And she was like, it's gonna be about like $400 for the candle.
Ooh.
And I was like, wow. And I don't even get to see it. And she's like, no, it's going to the. So I was like, ugh, it's hard. But I still wanted to have like some sort of psychic experience. So when we got home, we had a couple underage drinks. Don't do that, people out there. Anyway, we had a couple drinks. Never. Yeah. So we had a couple drinks, and we started playing with the, well, it wasn't a Ouija board, it was a psychic circle, so it was like a generic brand. But I love a bargain. So, like, sitting there with the psychic circle, and waiting, and like nothing was happening for a while. And then, of course, like that Ouija board commercial where it's like, you're doing it, and it started moving. And my friend from 6th grade, Amy, she was like, who is this? Who are we speaking to? And it went to B and then D, which was actually the initials of my grandmother, who had passed away when I was about 12 years old. And that was enough for me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm good. But for those who, my question, I guess, based on that little story, and thank you for allowing me to share, is what's a great way to have a skeptic be more open-minded about this thing?
Oh, yeah.
That is a really great question. Golly, I don't know. How do you open a closed mind? I think that's a question that a lot of folks in the world are asking in this,
Yeah.
political.
I mean,
oh yeah, Kristen.
I was just gonna say, like, if they're truly like pride themselves on being skeptical, they always have to continue to test their beliefs and get more information. So I think like a real skeptic should be open to reevaluating their beliefs about a thing on a regular basis, because that's the only way that they can know that they still hold that position even after taking in a lot of information, right? So you can't just say this is it and have like this stable point of view, and you have to keep reevaluating your beliefs on a regular basis.
I'm gonna pull the Brene Brown card.
Yeah.
And say, like, in her vulnerability TED Talk, I think it's in that one, or she talks about certainty as a thing that we hold on to. It's like, drugs and sex and entertainment, all these different distractions we have to make ourselves feel less vulnerable. And I feel like certainty is almost I don't want to use the word plague right now, but it's a tough part of our culture right now, no matter what religion you are or skeptic, no matter what political side you're on. Everyone right now is very certain that they're right, and they're very certain that everyone else is wrong. And everyone is even in this COVID situation, everyone is very certain that you shouldn't wear a mask, and now everyone is certain that you should wear a mask. Like everyone is making these decisions very quickly, and it's a tool, right? Shame is a tool also, because we had to shame each other to staying home because the leadership was slow, and so shame became a tool that we were wielding, and that's what it's for. But there seems to be a very strong shame muscle and certainty muscle,
right,
and a atrophied vulnerability and openness and flexibility side to us culturally right now and in the past decade.
So like if somebody holds a belief that's very close, a core belief of theirs that so defines them that they identify themselves through that belief. When you challenge that belief, it's like a life-threatening thing for somebody, right? Like they will go so far to defend that belief because they hold it so close and identify so closely that it really doesn't matter the strength of the evidence or argument you bring, because to them it's just a threatening their identity, right? So like when people hold these beliefs so strongly and so closely, it backfires to challenge that belief.
Totally, because it's coming from fear a lot.
Absolutely.
And
so
go ahead, Tara.
Well, I think if you do have a lot of evidence and things like recordings and dates and times and names and a whole series of things that break it down into almost or into fact, genuinely presented fact, but presented to them in a gentle way, like, just kind of, like, look this over, this is what happened, not, because I find people will put up the barricade if it's like, but look, I mean, obviously this happened, obviously, right? Inflammation breeds inflammation, right? But if it's just, well, these are facts, what led me to believe, so, feel free to check it out if you want.
And that was my criticism of Penn and, I love Penn and Teller, and I enjoyed the show Bullshit a lot, and it's very old if you haven't seen it. I've just been watching it recently. But the problem for me was when they debunked psychics, for example, they went to the worst ones. They went to the one who's trying to charge you $400, and it's like, I can debunk that one. I kind of want somebody who's a psychic to do the opposite for me. I would love for them to go in and tell me how these people did this. Because I would love to know whether it was theatrical, whether it was a mind trick that they played on me. Like, I would be fine learning what it was if it's something different than what I have felt or experienced, or the story I've told myself of what that experience is. And I would love for them to try, because totally the John Edwards method, and they're getting people's names while they're in line, they're looking them up, but these experiences I think that Tara has had and that I've had are really hard. And when I watch a magic show, I'm always trying to figure out how they do it. And I can't figure these out.
So Heather, have you ever played Ouija board since then, or did that experience freak you out enough to not?
That was enough. And I'm like half skeptical, half not. Like, I'm in this in-between phase where I'm like, my brain wants to work logically and be like, that's impossible. And then the other half is like, well, that seems like a little more than a coincidence. Like, another story would be earlier this year, my brother had really bad tonsillitis and was hospitalized. And it was almost like a near-death experience for him. So when they were operating on him, he had a vision of my grandparents. And I had always claimed that I was the favorite grandchild. So I was complaining to my friends one night when I was over at her place for dinner, and I said, well, you know, I'm the favorite. How come they don't come visit me? Like, what's up with that? And literally right when I said that, her electricity went out and went right back on. And I was like, okay, we're good. But I'm like a skeptic, but I'm also like, and I think it's probably because I can't handle it if it's too much. So I was like, yep, that's scary enough. I'm good.
Yeah, right. Because it makes you feel vulnerable, because I think there is a vulnerability to knowing there's an unknown reality that we don't know, we can't control. It's why I think, living in this virus era is so awful. It's like I've been through, I went to Ecuador and there were 2 6.8 earthquakes while I was there within a 24-hour period. And there's something very familiar about the way this feels as an earthquake. Is like we get triggered into fight or flight when we're scared.
Yeah.
But if it's an earthquake, you actually can't run from it and you can't fight it. So it's a very, that whole, the term shaken, I think is like, it shakes you to your core, because you can't protect yourself. And I think that that's what this virus also feels like, is like, it's invisible. I can't hide from it. I can't, like, so we're all washing our hands or doing we're doing the things we can control that maybe make us feel like we're hiding from it, or telling other people what to do. That helps us make us feel like we're fighting it. Yeah. But it's not. We can't see it. We don't know what's happening. We don't have any data. We don't know how long it's, so it's very disconcerting. And I think it's that same thing. It's like, wow, if there's this whole unknown realm beyond my senses and all I can get are these weird little glimpses, it makes me feel like people are watching me and like I never have privacy, or, all those, that's the thing people go to all the time. So are they watching me when I have sex?
Yeah.
I don't think they care.
Honestly, that'd probably be the first thing I ask a psychic now. do they watch me when I shit in the morning?
Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah.
Right? I think there is a vulnerability, right?
Totally.
To be like, there are these people who can see us and know us, and like, I don't think they care.
Right, let's not romanticize this.
I hope I make Grandma and Grandpa proud.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I think that's all we're all trying to do.
Yay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yay.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon.
So Heather's story reminded me of when I was younger and we played Ouija board night at a sleepover, and we were in contact with a spirit called Suzanne Edwards, according to the Ouija board, and I also really felt it. And the only thing that this spirit did in like the material realm to interact was a poster that I had in my room fell down, and it was up very securely as far as I knew. And actually the next time that I played Ouija board with another set of friends, I had Suzanne Edwards visit again, and it was a 5-year-old ghost. Ooh. So it was really, really scary. I absolutely remember the like that feeling and that ghostly character, and I don't know what else to say about it right now, but
did that poster fall again? That same poster?
No, because I was in a totally different place with totally different friends.
Okay.
And that was the weird thing. I mean, obviously I was a connection, but to have that spirit show up again, with a whole different set of people, was weird. I mean, I know that I am the common denominator there, but I don't know, something was going on with Suzanne Edwards, and
sure.
My aunt, sorry, go ahead, Tara.
Oh, if you hadn't mentioned that to any of those people,
right?
And also there's that collective thing where you don't feel like you're pushing it at all, right?
Right.
There's nothing conscious about it. You're just letting your fingers sit there, and it goes where it goes.
Yeah.
So last thing, and then we'll talk about your podcast. My aunt had 3 boys, and always wanted a girl. Like, she didn't necessarily plan to have 3 kids, but they had the third, like, okay, we have 2 boys, we'll try one more time, maybe we'll have a girl. And they have 3 great boys. But she got on a bus. She had beautiful hair, like her whole life, like all the way down to her butt. And this Jamaican hairdresser was on the bus and came up to her and was talking to her about how beautiful her hair was. And then she said, "You have a little girl spirit around you, and she wants to be born through you. You have 3 boys." And this girl, she's been waiting, and she wants to be born through you. And my aunt did not want to have more children, so she went home and went on the pill.
Oh, well,
So we'll never know.
yeah.
But maybe sometimes it's empowering to get some information from beyond.
Yeah.
So speaking of the beyond, Tara Travis,
Voices from beyond.
yes, tell us about Phantom Signal.
Phantom Signal is a theatrical radio-style podcast that has thus far been a live show. We're well into our 5th season, and we just finally made a studio anthology series. But it's a horror comedy radio. It's all horror and kind of like sci-fi satire. It's very much the brainchild of Jason McDonald, who is a brilliant playwright and performer. And the 3 of us, Jason McDonald and the brilliant and hilarious Andrew Bailey and I, make a million voices and noises. And we take you to a different place, a different creepy / hilarious story / unfolding.
How many did you do live before you went into the studio?
We had done 4 full seasons, and in the first season we used to do 2 full episodes every live show, which I think almost broke Jason, because he was writing these 40-minute full episodes.
Yeah.
Plus this whole pre-show, we do like fake ads and all these sketches and all these other bits and pieces. It just comes out of him. Like, talk about, I feel like there's some kind of like spirit that works through him.
Yeah, like he's one of the most prolific and brilliant writers that I know. In the Fringe, when we talk about the Fringe, there's that whole circuit of festivals that go from Canada, from Eastern Canada across to Western Canada every 2 weeks, and he's been doing it for years, as has Tara, and just creating new things, all different styles of things, but always with a little dark. He's got a little dark taste, which I like.
Yeah, there's a nice dark underbelly always. But yeah, I think we had done about 40 or so, and we continued to do the live show while we were recording.
Did you pick your favorite 8, or?
Yeah. We made a big spreadsheet and kind of looked through it, and we were looking at, vibe and theme and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of trying to, it's like building an album, like you want to get just the right flow.
Yeah.
Because none of the stories are connected. They're completely independent of each other. But you want to take people on a fun journey.
And where do people go, Tara, if they want to listen to Phantom Signal?
Please check us out at phantomsignalradio.com. So far we have 2 episodes up there, but we're in the midst of getting up on all the official podcast places. So give us like a week. And
pace yourself. Right?
Yeah, there's
pace
already
yourself
2
with
to
those
listen
2,
to.
and
There's a fake ad up there that's very funny.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that was live capture from our first season that's on there as well. But we just felt, we always record our live shows, but they can be kind of messy and uneven, and we just can't quite get it right. We're bleeding into each other's microphones and all that kind of stuff, so it's more for, posterity that we record them live. But in order to do it right, we had to do a studio series, so we're still chipping away and making more of those.
Yeah, we have 30 live Ruby Rockets recorded, and we're almost finished editing our first one. But it's really hard with a live score, so you have to manage that. And there's long pauses that you can hold in person, that you might be having an expression, or you might be having intense eye contact that just read as long silences that you have to edit down. Yeah, so
it doesn't always translate, right? You've got to manipulate it differently for the different ways of absorbing it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, great.
I love all your technology. You guys do amazing things.
I enjoy gear, and so does John Tim, who's doing all the work behind the scenes here today.
Hey, John Tim.
John Tim. Yeah.
You got anything else, Chris? Kristen?
No, wow. These stories have really given me something to think about. I think it's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm going to check out Phantom Signal.
Yeah.
And get myself a nice new podcast to listen to. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, and now's the time while you're cleaning the house or going for a safe distance from other people walk.
I think I'm going to listen to this one at midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of silly, creepy funnies.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, we'll say goodbye to you, Tara. Thanks
For
again.
having me.
Anytime. I love you so much.
I love you so much.
Let's talk soon.
Yay.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Bye, Tara.
Nice to meet you.
I love her so much. So what you can't tell is that Tara's about 6 feet tall. I don't know if you could tell by that.
I'm also 6 feet tall.
No, you're not. I don't know if you guys can
You
tell.
can't tell
Kristen is
sitting here.
4'11".
Yeah.
And I'm 5'3", so I'm considerably shorter than Tara. And what I love about Tara is like hair piled on top, and she'd be standing there and like Christmas lights behind her, and it's like, God, you're like a Greek goddess, and I'm a spastic fairy. You're so beautiful. And she would go, hello.
Yeah, you're like an elf and I'm a hobbit.
Exactly. Exactly. But she doesn't take it too seriously.
Yeah, that's great.
So thanks, Kristen.
Oh yeah, I had a blast.
Me too. Isn't that
great.
really good stories?
Yeah, so tune in to Curious. We're going to be bringing you some more live streamed content of various natures, and check out updates, curiouscomedy.org, on our new classes and shows that'll be updated there soon.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you, and have a spooky afternoon, evening.